Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we begin, I would just like to give a quick shout out to Chaz. Chaz, you were the first person to comment on my last video, and I just want to say thank you so much for all your support. So today we're going to be doing another story time and nail video, and today's topic is on how racism, an experience I had, was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it sounds very crazy, I know, but this story time is definitely deep. But if you want to hear more about how this incident changed my life forever, then keep listening. So I was a junior at the time, and I go to a predominantly white institution. My college is predominantly white. In all my classes, I'm in a finance major, so the finance industry is full of Caucasian males. It's just facts. Like, that's what the industry is dominated with. There's not a lot of women and there's not a lot of minorities. So automatically right there, I'm double trouble. I'm a woman and I'm African American. So in all of my classes, I was always the only minority. There would be other women sometimes, but for the most part, I was the only black anything. So I had this one professor, and his class was made up of 3 different tests, actually 4 different tests, and you had some homework assignments here and there, but the majority of your grade was from taking those 4 tests, and one of them was dropped. The lowest grade was dropped. So it was probably 2 weeks into the semester, and I had gotten sick, like very sick. I had to go to the hospital. It was insane. And of course I got sick on the day that our first test was. So I had a note, and I had emailed him about everything, emailed him the note, told him about my situation, and that I wasn't going to be able to make it, but he never ever replied to my emails. So after that, I came to class the following week because his class was only once a week. And I told him about the situation, and I showed him my note, and he told me that I couldn't retake the exam and it was going to be fine. It's like whatever, because the lowest grade is dropped anyway. And of course I didn't really think it was fair, because what if I don't do so hot on the other 3? Like, I already automatically took away one of my chances. So I asked him, but I would really like to retake it. It's not my fault that I got sick. I couldn't help it. I would like to retake it. And it was just a no. He was telling me, no, your lowest one is dropped. It is what it is. So I let it go, and I kept it pushing. Throughout the whole semester, there was a lot of red flags. There will be times where, like I said, remind you, I'm the only black anything, only minority in the classes. I would be raising my hand, and he would act like he didn't see it. I would be raising my hand for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and he would act like he never saw my hand being raised. I would try and ask a question. He would snap at me if I were to say something out loud, like, "Professor, raise your hand." Yeah, he was that type of guy. And mind you, there was a whole bunch of other Caucasian students, and when they would raise their hand or when they would blurt something out, it was always a joke with them. He was always kikiing with them, laughing. But when it was with me, I was just a bothersome. Like, you could just tell I annoyed him, and I did nothing but mind my business and do my work. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And along with that, I would email him. He would never reply to me. If I had a question, if I had to go to his office hours, he was not entertaining it. If I had to go to his office hours, it was always, "Oh, I can't do it today." It was always a problem. And I'm not the type of person that automatically sees something and is like, "Oh, they're racist." I've never been that type of person. Because in a lot of cases, it's not that they're racist, it's that they're just ignorant. And there's a lot of times where I feel like it's unfair to label somebody as a racist when in reality, no, they're not racist. They just don't have that knowledge. They are ignorant. They are lacking knowledge. Like, for example, if you are Caucasian and you grew up believing that black people were the devil, your parents instilled this in you. Your parents made you believe that you were the superior race growing up your whole entire life and you go into high school and in college having this mentality, it's going to be a shock to you. You're going to be surprised. That's why racism will never die, because it's always consistently being instilled into the next generations. So I can understand that, and I'm not at all saying that it's right, but everybody isn't racist. It's just if everybody isn't racist, a lot of people are just ignorant. But at a certain age, you do have to recognize right from wrong, and you can start making decisions for yourself. But that's a whole different topic. Going back to the story. So I had missed the first test, and my school invited me on a trip to Wall Street. Like I said, I'm a finance major, and this trip was major, and I got selected to go. It was amazing. You got to go to the New York Stock Exchange. You got the opportunity to go to the Bloomberg headquarters. It was an amazing opportunity, and I was super excited to go and super grateful that I was asked to go. So unfortunately, the same day the trip was the same day that our next test was. So of course I went immediately after I figured that out and emailed him about the situation and asked him if I could take the exam prior to the exam date. I didn't think it would be a problem. I really thought it would be fine, but of course he doesn't email me back. So the following week came and we had class. I went to class and I stayed after so I could talk to him. Anytime that I had to ask him a question or anytime that I had to talk to him, he would never make eye contact with me. So I went up to him and I was telling him about the situation and how excited I was and if I could take our next exam earlier. And I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. He did a deep breath. He sighed. He was like, he told me no, absolutely not. There was no point in me going to that trip anyway because it would be a waste of my time. I would never make it on Wall Street. I would barely make it in the finance industry, and that I was out of luck and that I would have to figure it out. He told me you either come and take the test or you get a 0 on it, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Even like saying those words right now, it just blows my mind to this day. That somebody could be so evil. But after that happened, I'm not the type of person that cries in front of people. I had one crocodile tear, just one, guys. One tear fell to the ground, and I told him thank you, and that was it. I walked away, and I ran to the bathroom, and I just cried, and I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, what just happened? Like, what do I do? I have never been in a situation like this before. I never really experienced racism, and I'm fortunate to say that because I was a junior in college and that was my very first experience with it. But yeah, I had never experienced racism of any type really before, and my dad told me that this was always a conversation that he had put off because it was a tough one, but he basically, to sum it up, told me that you're going to be going in the real world soon, and there are people out here that will do everything they can in your power to bring you down because of the color of your skin, and that there are really people out here that would just hate you and have all this hatred in their heart for you, and it's something that you can't control. I'm graduating soon. I'm going to be working out there in the real world, and that there will be many more experiences of this that I will have to go through. So yeah, it was a pretty deep conversation, but after I got off the phone with my dad, I had went to the business college. Like, you know how there's the liberal arts school within your school, business school. I'm in finance, so I went to my business school, and I went to my advisor and I asked her, or I didn't ask her, I told her about the situation. Other advisors were over listening, and they all came into the room, and they just was so surprised that this had happened. And some of the other heads of the college were the people that invited me to this Wall Street trip, and they were just as shocked as I was. So my advisors and everybody took it to the next level. They took it to the dean, and the dean called me that same day at nighttime. Actually, it was nighttime, and she was just apologizing to me about how this had happened, and she basically told me, don't worry about taking this exam. You'll be able to take your exam and you will be able to go on your trip. So I went on my trip, and the next week I had class with him again. And I went to class, and he asked to see me after class. He was probably in his late 60s, early 70s. He was very old, and since he was there for so long and since he was retiring, there was like no way of him getting fired or anything, which is fine because I never want to see anybody get fired. I didn't even want him to get fired. All I wanted was to go on my trip and then take my exam. That's all I ever wanted from the beginning. And he did all this for what? But anyway, after class that day, he told me, he apologized, and he was like, you are going to be very successful. You are a very bright student. You are very intimidating. I always gave him the best quality of work, and if I ever needed a recommendation in writing for employers, he gave me his phone number and his email address, and he was like, I want to be the first person that you call. He scheduled the day that I could take the exam, and it just all went in one ear and out the other. To be honest, it didn't even matter what he said to me, because I knew you don't become unracist overnight. They don't work like that. You just said that to cover your ass. So it may seem nice to y'all, but it did not matter. It didn't matter what that man said to me. Let me tell you guys why this is probably the best experience that has ever happened to me. And I know it sounds crazy, but it really was honestly one of the greatest things that college could have ever did for me. After that man said that, it hurt me at a level that had never been touched before. I can't even explain it, but anytime that I have a huge project or a huge test or a huge interview, I have a picture of this man, and it's going to sound crazy, but I have a picture of him printed out, and I have a picture of him in my notes in my phone. And I remember for my first ever full-time job interview, I was so nervous because this was a huge company. It was a great opportunity. I looked at the picture of him in my phone, and every time I look at this man's face, it gives me unbelievable motivation because he hurt me at a level that I can't even describe. So that motivation is at a level, I look at his picture and I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. It's no problem. It's no problem at all. Calms me down. When I have a huge presentation, when I have anything, it just calms me down looking at his face. So in a way, I really owe that man a thank you, because I didn't have this type of mechanism before. When I would have a huge presentation, interview, anything, I would just have to count down from like 10 or something. But now he makes me so confident. And it's wild that I can think about it like this, but he truly makes me more confident and unstoppable. Because of him and those words that day, I know that I can do anything. So I'm telling everybody this story because it doesn't even have to be if somebody was racist to you or if somebody said something to you. Take that person, get a picture of them, and look at that person every single time that you have something to overcome, and I promise you, you're going to knock it out the park. There's always positive in every negative situation, always. It's always a lesson learned. It's always something that you can take from that. So I know this story was kind of deep today. The next one is going to be on a way lighter note, I promise. But yeah, that's the story of the first time that I ever encountered racism. So yeah, leave me a comment down below of any of the rough situations that you guys might have been through as well. And if you made it to the end, girl, you're a real one. Thank you so much for watching. Today is Monday, so that means, oh, I'm lying. Today's Thursday, so that means I might see you on the weekend, but if not, I'll definitely see you guys on Monday. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.